So today, as I mentioned, we talk about contemplate, the summer ahead, the summer of self-love. Right? And I really want to key in on one word, one four-letter word: rest. Right? For some, myself included, it can feel as dirty as some of the other four-letter words. Right? This um, this belief that it must be earned. Right? After the work is done, after we've taken care of somebody else, after we've checked all our emails, our social media, you know, even after what we've become enough, right? Whatever that means, I don't know. I'm still working on figuring that one out. Right. And in reality, whatever we're waiting for to rest, it's never done. There's always something else to do. Even while we're sitting still, we're in a constant state of doing. Maybe you noticed that this morning. Times where the mind just wouldn't stop. Right? Sitting here thinking, what's next? When's lunch? When is he going to ring that bell? What am I forgetting? Right? What should I be doing now? Right? The classic is driving a car, right? How many times do we drive from point A to point B and all of a sudden we're there, having no knowledge of what we just passed, what we saw? Within the Buddhist context, we talk about suffering. Suffering, not simply some dramatic thing, but a subtleness, right? In Sanskrit, another Sanskrit word I'll throw is dukkha, right? It's an unease, a restlessness, right? It's our inability to arrive in our present lives. That's what it's causing, right? And the Buddha noticed this very clearly. And in essence, that's really what all his teachings are about, right? This mind constantly grasping towards what's next, looking for more security, more clarity, more achievement, more control. Right? But we realize, or maybe should realize, that peace doesn't come from controlling anything. Because frankly, we can't do it. Right? But peace does come from learning how to be present with our experience, both internal and external. Famous Zen teaching says you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day. Unless you're too busy, then you should sit for an hour. It's funny. But what it's pointing at is that it's not about meditation doesn't solve everything instantly, right? Not a one quick fix. But what we're training our mind to do is to stop that trance of just blindly going through our days. And really the most radical thing we can do is exactly what we are doing today, which is taking that pause, just sitting quietly as best as we can, breathing consciously and allowing ourselves to exist without performing anything, as so it seems. Contrary to popular opinion, rest is not laziness. It's not giving up. It is truly an act of trust. Trusting that our worth is not dependent on this constant motion. The earth is a wonderful example of being in the moment and adapting to the time, right? 4 seasons, everything is in constant change, right? Trees know that in the winter, they need to hunker down. They need to be still. They can't afford to expel too much energy, right? But yet, for some reason, us human beings, especially in the summertime, feel that we must be productive. We must do this. We must do that. I mean, my to-do list is a mile long, right? And then there's the stuff I want to do, right? But at some point, if we're not paying attention, our nervous system is just going to say, time out, no more, right? Sometimes it's through anxiety, through burnout, sometimes just numbness. And so many see these warning signs as failures, right? But they're not. These signs are wisdom. These are moments, teaching moments. Right? Not every moment becomes a problem that must be solved, right? Not every emotion needs to control us, right? Like I said earlier, not every thought not only needs but deserves our attention. Pema Chodron, she wrote, "You are the sky." Right? Our minds, our luminous minds, naturally are the bright sky, much like today. Right? Everything else is just the weather. Right? These passing clouds. By resting, by taking these moments intentionally, it allows us to remember that we are the sky. Once we begin to rest, something very interesting happens, right? That's when we notice how depleted we may be. Right? We're not only physically tired, we're emotionally tired. Throughout our days, we are consuming immense amounts of information. It's almost impossible to get away from it today, right? The news, social media, comparing ourselves with other people, fear, outrage, amount of advertising. It's inescapable. All of that data does not allow our minds to relax. Doesn't allow our minds to be silent. And it's without this silence that we really can't hear that deeper wisdom that's in us. So this rest is not about becoming anything new. Okay? It's about uncovering who we are. Okay? The Buddha taught that beneath this confusion is clarity. Okay? Beneath fear, there's awareness. Okay? Beneath waves, there's depth. And in Buddhist terms, they call this Buddha nature. Okay? It's not something we create, but it's something we rediscover. Okay? It is inherently born in each of us, this pristine awareness. And it is these causes and conditions of life that don't allow us to see it. There's a famous, huge statue of the Buddha. I want to say in Thailand, but I might be wrong. And it was built 1,000 years ago. And it's just been sitting there in modern times. And it's just looks like this muddy, covered, filth covered statue. Nobody really knew what it was, but it was the Buddha. So everybody would go to it, right? And, well, one day somebody decided they wanted to like clean it. It was gold plated. Right? That's us. Right? That's what this rest is allowing us to do, is to clean it, to clean our minds and refresh and see this Buddha nature within us. Jack Kornfield, American Buddhist teacher. Wonderful book. And I love this quote. It's the title of the book. After the ecstasy, the laundry. Right? This awakening doesn't come from escaping life, right? We come here, we practice, right? But it's out there where the rubber hits the road that these teachings can really take root in us and we apply them. Right? It's gaining really an intimacy with ordinary life. Right? And paying attention to ordinary life is not boring. There's so much vividness out there. So this restoration for ourselves, really, it happens through like these simple things, right? Being in nature, breathing deeply, sharing honestly, listening, drinking tea slowly, right? Watching the sunrise, watching the sunset, right? Feeling the music, allowing our tears, laughing fully. It's in these real ordinary moments that when we're truly present, allows this Buddha nature to shine through. I think for me and for many, some of the most deepest forms of this restoration, this self-fulfillment, was self-compassion. Most people don't speak to themselves, don't speak to others as harshly as they would speak to themselves. Right? I should be further along. I should have figured this out by now. I'm not doing enough. I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at that. But this healing doesn't grow from this criticism. Tara Brach, another wonderful American teacher, said, the boundary to what we can accept is the boundary to our freedom. So how much can we allow ourselves to be human? Being human means not being perfect, not always being strong, not always certain, just human. This is where this restoration for us begins. When we slow down enough, right? When we rest enough, we begin this reconnecting. Not with an idealized self, with a more authentic self. We spend so much energy managing our identity. Right? Who should I be? How should I appear? Will I be accepted? But beneath all that is something much more quiet and much more stable. And that's just the awareness. Right? Observing presence is enough. We're going to have those thoughts, and that's okay. Can you just observe them without engaging? Can you allow those thoughts, like every other one that isn't necessarily true, can you allow them to be clouds in the sky and just pass on by? This act of meditation, again, it doesn't create this awareness, but it does reveal it. And it is truly from this awareness where love naturally emerges. Right? It's a love that says, I belong here. Wherever we are, doesn't matter. He says, I belong. Right? And this loving kindness, again, it's not something that we have to create. It's something that we cultivate. Right? It's already there. Right? Imagine, equate it like tending a garden. Right? The garden needs sunlight, needs water, needs patience. So do we. We're no different. Right? And that's what the summer reminds us of. That things grow and they're properly supported to grow. Right? So you can ask yourselves, what conditions are you creating internally for growth? Right? Or you find your habit energy to be more creating fear, right? Planting comparison, planting urgency. So maybe we are. We notice it. We shine the light of awareness on it without any judgments. And once we're aware, then we can then plant different seeds. Plant seeds of kindness, generosity, curiosity, joy, presence. Right? Suzuki Roshi, famous Zen teacher, said, "You are perfect as you are, and you can use a little improvement." I love that, right? Because it holds both truth and compassion. We don't need to become anybody else to deserve peace. We simply need to return again and again and again. So again, this day is not about escaping life. It's about remembering life. Remembering what it feels like to take that pause, to feel a breath, to truly listen, to soften, to rest, to restore, and to reconnect. Right? Summer, it's a season of light. And our practice reminds us that the light that we seek is already here. It's already in us. Right? Yeah, sometimes it's covered by fear, by exhaustion, or distraction, but it's never gone. So just for today, right? Let this be enough. One breath, one moment of awareness, one act of kindness towards yourself. It's something just to think about as we flow into these summer months. Right? What would it look like to live from a place of inner warmth rather than inner pressure? Not perfectly, certainly not all at once. Maybe just one mindful moment at a time.